Hello, John Birch for Dentime, and this is the third in our educational series on how to use the Dentime digital recall system. In the previous videos, we showed you a little bit about the functionality of the dashboard and also a little dynamic spreadsheet about the financial consequences of having people come in on shorter recalls. Today, I'd like to make a little extra video to show you a little bit more about these numbers down here. Now, excuse me, people in the dental world are very familiar, dentists and hygienists, with the idea of 6-point probing. 6-point probing is where you get all the 6 numbers and you're registering the pocket depth. Here's the problem. Patients don't relate to that, and I'll tell you why. Just imagine if you went to your MD and he gave you your blood pressure in your arm, in your leg, in your nose, and your hair. That's not effective. He gives you one number, or actually 2 numbers, systolic and diastolic. But for example, weight or body mass index or height or age or whatever, they're giving you a single number. So we figured out if we were to use a single quotient for the whole mouth, people would understand it, and it really works great. And what we've done is we have these 4 values here. Now I want to go through each one of these because they're slightly different than what most dentists are used to, hygienists and dentists. We use in the dental profession a number which is called BOP, bleeding upon probing. In our system, we use bleeding upon scaling. And all you do to get this number is scale a person's teeth and look and see how many sites are bleeding. If it's moderate or slight, you get a number here. If it's severe, you can add to the severity over here. So let's say the person had bleeding upon scaling were 4 sites, and let's say none of them were severe. So you get a number that is 4. Here's one of the magic parts of our system, pocketing. It turns out that you can actually go through a quadrant, do your probing, and we use the mesial buccal probing depth. And then we imagine that 2 is normal, and then we add up the number of points above normal. So let's say I went through the upper right quadrant and I had 2 sites, each of which was a 4 millimeter pocket reading. 2 sites, 4 millimeters is 1, 2 over normal. Let's say that maybe I went into the upper left quadrant and I got 3 points over normal. Now I'd have a total of 3. And I remember my other 2, so I have 5. If I go down below and I get 2 points on the lower left and 2 points on the lower right, that's 4 more. 5 and 4 is 9. There is no severity on the pocket points. They're just numbers. And mobility now, same thing. If you have plus mobility, you don't count it. If it's 1 mobility, you count it. So let's say there were 2 teeth that moved 1 mobility, but if they were really more mobile than that, you could give them a severity. Maybe they're really severe, and so this number changes. And then finally, we do visible tartar. Visible tartar is really effective. It just says that when I look in that person's mouth, how many teeth can I visually see have tartar? Let's put this number at 5 teeth. Now we're going to go back up, and we see that the periodontal health quotient is 24.3. It specifies a 3-month recall. The medical risk is considered to be high, and that person will comply with this system every single time. If you want to, you can actually do the math for them and then do a screen print of their actual thing. But what we use typically here is to chart it, and we'll show that charting in another video. Now I'm going to go return these values. Oh, let me show you one more thing again here, because this is a quotient. If in fact we have fewer teeth than 28, let's say we only have 20, the number becomes higher because we're dividing through, and now you have a person, if they have a total number of points of 20.4, total points, adding up all these points, 20.4, with only 20 teeth, their periodontal health quotient is 34, they need SRP. So I'm going to return these now to their base values. We set this up at 28. We say that this is leading upon scaling. We just leave this at 2. And then pocket points, we start this at 2 just to be having a baseline. And then I'm going to go back here in mobility. We're going to leave it 2, and then visible tartar at 2. Now, just for fun, let me mention, when you do this, you sit down with a patient, and usually in our office, we look visually, visible tartar, and we can see how many teeth have visible tartar. I have my assistant do the record keeping, so I will say to her, I see 7 teeth that have visible tartar. So maybe I'm going to go and do this again. Here's 7. And so we're really going in this sequence here, and we can put there, we have a form that you can enter this in for the patient and put it in their chart. So I see visible tartar is 7. I feel the teeth, none of them is moving, so I give it a 0. Now the next thing I do is I do the pocket checking, and I do it with my point system. And let's say we get a total of 4 points total, and then we stop and we do the scaling. After the scaling, now we know which number of sites have bled. Let's say there's 7, and that's where we get the number 21.4. The gross number is here. The PHQ is here, and that tells me that this person should come on a 3-month recall. Let's say they were on a 3-month recall, and we decided that that they've come back in. We want to see if now they've done better. So again, we say, well, Mrs. Smith, it looks to me like you only have 4 points where I can see any visible tartar. Your mobility hasn't changed. Your pocketing has gone down. That's wonderful. That's after I do my mesial buccal probing pocket points. And I count them up. Once you get the hang of it, you'll do it in 20 seconds. And when I'm done scaling, Mrs. Smith, I notice you only have 4 sites which are bleeding. So now instead of having a 3-month recall, you have earned the right to a 4-month recall. We chart it over here. They come in 4 months, and next time when they come in, believe it or not, they're aching to see if they can beat that number. And of course, the goal is to get to no bleeding, but let's assume that they have a couple that trickle, etc., and maybe their pocketing is going to stay at 2 because these structural changes take a while to change. Here we are at 2 again, and let's say their visible tartar is 2, and with 28 teeth, we're back to 10.0. Why is that 10.0? I see, because I didn't change this back to 0. 9.5. So that's a little dynamic demonstration of the dashboard. Over here in the actual dashboard, the forms that will be used, PDFs, chart PDFs, inpatient instructions PDF, other videos here, other resources for the doctor's office, instructions, again, written how to use this, the claim form information here, and a way to contact us. So I hope this has been useful. It's a little bit long, but this system is worth every penny. I think in our office, we see patients being healthier. They're more enthusiastic, they're more loyal, and they come in on average about 1 in 3 is now coming in at a shorter interval to manage themselves based on this monitoring system. And I think in our practice, which is a very small, kind of a boutique office, we might be making for the office somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 more per month. And the patients are very happy to come to us on a shorter recall because they don't want the medical risk. They do want to, in fact, control these variables. So I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for watching.